to another fabulous episode of Blighty Day Fiancé.
I mean, it might not be fabulous. We'll try.
I'm calling it ahead of time. It's going to be Whoa.
Whoa.
Sorry. The bulldog, as per usual, is...
just stepped on one of the ands and nearly caused a cable crisis.
Is sowing crises. My name is Michelle.
I'm Robin. Hello.
We are a married couple residing in the UK, and we have the audacity to believe that we can weigh in on reality programs to do with dating and love and
I like the way
pursuit.
Not to make you
things.
self-conscious, I like the way you say program. Say it again.
Program.
Not program.
No, I stopped saying it that way. It's not a conscious affectation,
Program.
but
That's good. Now I've made you.
yeah.
I like it. It's nice. It's good.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
It's different. Unusual.
It is nice.
It is nice.
It's different.
Right, good. We're doing a megacast, right? It's a megacast.
We're doing an omnibus.
Oh, right, fine. I'm calling it a megacast.
Okay.
And
Let us know which one you prefer. I think omnibus is going to be the winner.
Omnibus feels very kind of like Victorian.
That's why people like it.
Oh, right. Okay. That's a traditional kind of British thing. But we're not doing the British show today. We're doing the one which is where they go to other places in it, and then the one where it's like before the one.
Yep. So we're doing Toe today and Before the 90. If you haven't watched either of those yet, I recommend you do. Surely by this time you have.
Yeah, I'd have thought so. So a bit of a catch up. We haven't covered either of them for a little while. So it's a kind of state of the nation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Is the nation strong?
I think so.
I think the shows are good.
I think broadly speaking, the shows are good.
The shows are good.
I'll tell you what,
the relationships are not strong. The state of the unions.
No, the state of the unions, I'm not sure about.
No.
There's a couple of duds. There's a couple of DOAs, as is customary. But how do you feel about there being 3 franchises on simultaneously? Because I'm finding that difficult to adjust to. I can't remember who is on what show without prompting.
Well, I've got no idea. And they're mixing it up as well. Like 2 of the storylines on, I want to say Before, but again, I couldn't tell you which show's which.
Before the 90, yeah.
Could be on 90 to Fuck. Nice Day Fiancé UK.
Yeah.
Right? No reason why they're on Before in any way. Yeah, because 90 Day Fiancé UK doesn't hold itself like to the 6th month fiancé visa. Anyway, it's 180 days here.
Right.
Right. So, and they're all quite...
Which arguably is not as good a title. 180 Day Fiancé.
I don't know, dude. I mean, it just sounds bigger and better to me.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, like, the sequel should have been 91 Day Fiancé, 92 Day Fiancé, 93 Day Fiancé. That's what... All the franchises should just be numbered. Because it's quite rare now in the 90-day universe that you actually have a 90-day situation on any of the shows.
I think the sequels should have titles like 90 Day. Now, I know they have Pillow Talk Strikes Back or whatever, something like that. But I think the franchises should be like 90 Day, The Revenge.
90 Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah. Independence 90 Day.
Speaking of thunder, our thoughts are with Hawaiians and those of you with loved ones in Hawaii.
We ain't even just saying that.
No, my oldest
genuinely
and dearest friend just moved from Lahaina to Idaho earlier this summer. And her entire neighborhood, her entire suburb has been destroyed. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's not just that personal connection. It's like, this is, you see wildfires, right, happening in places that, yes, people live, but broadly when it happens in the places between where people live. This is full-on urban hellscape. And I have to say, it's genuinely shocked me. It's brutal, and the combination of that with hurricane winds fanning it, it's just like someone up there that has got a sick sense of humor. It's awful, really awful.
Yeah. Right. And in times like these, it's really important to ground ourselves in the things that we are grateful for and that we feel so lucky to have in our lives. Not just things, but people. Thank you to everyone who's supporting us on our Patreon. We are really excited about getting more content out to you soon in the coming weeks. Huge thank you to Cousin Dan, our producer, and also a big warm welcome to Peggy Ann, who is coming on as our social media director.
Welcome, Peggy Ann. Finally, someone wonderful and talented to do that stuff that I'm too old for. I freely admit it. Social is a passive activity for me. I realized that quite a long time ago. I'll look, but I won't touch.
Well, it probably should be for me because I have become that bitch that says something and I probably shouldn't be.
That's the thing. I know I can't keep my mouth shut. I can be a bit naughty. I could be naughty on this. You don't want to give me that kind of outlook.
I'm on next door lecturing people.
Yeah.
I'm on.
I complained about someone on X the other day. I don't often do this kind of thing, but there was a post basically pretending that someone had died with a gif of people celebrating, right? And this person hadn't died, right? So no one was celebrating. And I won't say what it was. And I was like, that's not okay, right? And apparently that is fine. That is completely fine to say someone has died and have a gif of people passing in the street.
Get out of here.
For real. Like, Anyway, Peggy Ann doesn't have to deal with that from you lot. You're lovely.
Thank you also to everyone who's reached out to me during this difficult time. Today, in fact, is a difficult day for reasons that I don't especially want to go into. And thank you for respecting my not wanting to turn this into a sobcast. It really does mean a lot to me. Look, I know that there is a lot of false information and a lot of ignorant things being said, in particular about certain cast members who are neurodiverse. That narrows it down to 2.
Well,
you know,
that we know.
Yeah, exactly. That we know of.
Yeah.
I take it really personally when people are cruel to those cast members based on traits that I know are not within their immediate ability to control, and it really upsets me. And
what's most upsetting? Let's start with them both, right?
Okay.
Let's start with them both. The most upsetting thing is when, and again, this follows on from us talking about social, when people go, that's not authentic, that's not how that manifests itself.
Right.
It's like, wow. And this is usually from people who have no experience of, but like, I don't know, they seem to have an idea. Like, it's a little bit like when people went, well, you can't be autistic because you're not good at maths, because they seem Rain Man or something. And it's like, oh, fuck off.
Well, here's the thing. I want people to ask questions. I want people who don't know anything about it to ask questions. And I said as much in our Facebook group, and that is very much my position. I will never, ever, if you want to ask me a question, I'm never going to shame you as long as you come to me respectfully. And a lot of people are saying, well, this is ADHD. I have the worst for me is I have ADHD, or my friend has ADHD, or I have autism, or my friend has autism, and I've never made a poor decision in my entire life.
Yeah.
Well,
great.
Yeah. Congrats,
Brilliant.
Becky. Good for you. I'm so glad that your neurodiversity has only brought sunshine and laughter into your life, and has not impeded your ability to relate to others or to hold down a job in any way.
That's fantastic for you. Well done. Hooray.
Yeah. Oh, also you get a medal for saying I'm ADHD or I'm autistic and I can't stand that person.
Yeah, that's nice.
They make me look bad. They make us look bad. Thank you for speaking on everyone's behalf, too. You know what it comes down to, Robin, honestly, and this is the last I'm going to say on the matter, because I really need to just keep my side of the street clean and not fight other people's battles.
Sure.
And I know that there's a line between advocating in a useful way and in a way that uplifts people and makes people feel heard and validated and seen, and just wrestling in the mud, which I'm not interested in or shouldn't be interested in. Stop being gross. I think a lot of women especially are threatened, triggered, upset by another woman who, in their perception, is being favored or excused, and I'm using quote marks there, or celebrated for saying whatever they think at the moment that they're thinking it. I think there's a huge culture of shame around women's thoughts, feelings, preferences, things that they like. And rather than going, oh, I disagree with her, or I don't like what she has to say, or my opinion is this, their response is to go, well, she's weird. I don't like her. She's a sex tourist. She's a bully. Now, that's not to say that all of her behaviors are socially acceptable.
We're talking about Statler, right?
Yeah, now we're talking about Statler,
right.
Okay?
Right.
But saying that something is an excuse and saying that something is an explanation are two very different things.
I came up with an analogy the other day, and sometimes I say things that I think are not okay, and we kind of go, could I say that? Because look, sometimes I talk about things that I don't have experience of, right? But as an outsider, I like this analogy, and anyone can tell me why it's a terrible analogy, right? When you were talking about the excuse thing, right? That her neurodiversity is an excuse for bad behavior, right? And when women say that in particular, it does make me wonder, as a man on the outside, isn't this exactly the same thing as when men say to women, I don't care if you're on your period, you can still control what you say and your actions, and so you're acting like a complete monster. And I would just say, like...
Other women say that too.
Fine.
Yeah.
But what woman hasn't had that said to her by usually a man at some point? Right?
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, fuck you. The chemistry in my brain, my whole body is doing this at the moment. I might not like it either, but it is the way it is. Right? And don't turn that into, I'm choosing to be whatever, pejorative term is used against women for 1 week out of every fucking 4. Right? So as a woman...
And people who menstruate.
By all means,
yeah.
Absolutely. So, as a person who menstruates, if you found, like, you will have experienced this. I don't know anyone who hasn't experienced that at some point. People telling them that we should all have control over ourselves at all times. You know, like everything we do is a choice. Nothing in our lives is down to our physiognomy, the way we were raised, our environment, our culture, all of that. Everything's a choice. Everything's a choice. Nothing is ever out of our hands.
Right.
And it's absolute bullshit. And the reason I bring that up is not to sort of, you know, in a demeaning, oh, as a man, listen, women. It's just like, come on, guys, you've fucking been through this. You've been through this. It's not okay.
But I think that's why they do it. I think it's internalized misogyny in part, and I think it's internalized shame that comes from the attitude of, well, this is an invisible disability. If you don't identify it as a disability, that's fine. It's legally identified as a disability here in the UK, so that's why I'm using that word.
It's only I would argue it's only a disability because the world has not been built for people like that. It's no better or worse. It's just, you know, us kind of neurotypical people are incredibly lucky that the whole world has been built to accommodate us. And that's why people who are neurodiverse have a disability, because the world hasn't been built for them in any way. But that's just through chance, and I would suggest wrong. And now that as we're aware of these things, we absolutely need to make accommodations for that, because nothing is right and nothing is wrong. It's just different.
Right. And just to finish my thought, if I can.
Of course.
There's shame about having an invisible difference that isn't validated by the outside world.
Right.
So I think that many neurodivergent women haven't been validated, have been told or have chosen to believe that this is a moral failing of theirs to overcome, much similar to mental illness, to depression, right?
Absolutely.
Why can't you choose better thoughts?
Yeah.
You know? Why do you have to be a victim?
Yeah.
Why do you have to have that victim mentality?
Why are you dwelling on all of that when you have all of this?
Why don't you just literally like go spend some time outside and be among nature, and you'll just feel so much better. It'll just go away.
It works for me.
It works for me all the time. Yeah, I've been sad once. You know? Great for those people. Great. But just think before you have a discussion like that. Think before you start equating the word excuse with the word explanation. And think about, is Statler really getting a pass from anyone? Because I think she's getting dragged harder than male cast members who aren't neurodivergent.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Or even some female. I mean, she is putting up with the kind of shit that other cast members don't put up with, but no one accuses them of being, well, they might say their behavior is bad. So, for example, right, she's in a caravan, I'm going to cough. She's in a caravan with no functioning toilet, basically, having to wash in cold water. Mm-hmm. Right. And meanwhile, we've got what's her name over in India, who's got her own toilet issues. Right. But although remind me of her name. I'm so sorry. Kimberly. Right. Although, like, the way she's sort of addressing those things isn't great, the fact that she has those things to address isn't questioned. Right? Her manner is questioned, but the issues are questioned. Whereas Statler, for some weird reason, should be completely okay with absolutely everything. And I don't understand. The difference being, the one is nice and the other one isn't very nice. And you know what? Nice guys finish last, I guess. It's real easy to pick on people who are well-meaning.
It's really easy to pick on people who, again, don't have that built-in filter. Now, does that make her behavior healthy? No, it doesn't. No. Does that mean that she doesn't have maladaptive coping mechanisms? Absolutely not. But you know what the real difference is between, and there's all this, if she was a man, if she was a man, if she was a man, no one would question her diagnosis. If she was a man,
Yeah.
No one would.
That's true.
No one would say she doesn't have a stomach parasite. I had a stomach parasite once, and it didn't have that effect on me.
Yeah.
My diarrhea when I had a stomach paradise, was green. Why isn't hers green? Why isn't she showing it to us in a cup? Seriously,
Oh,
I
no.
want proof. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, men are just believed right away because
Well,
neurodiversity presents, like you said, it presents differently in men. It was
Completely
more
different.
frequently diagnosed.
Yeah, I mean, I ask every one of you to think about, how many people you have met in your life who are autistic and how many of them were men and how many of them were women, because it's diagnosed in men, because it looks often very, very different. It's much easier to spot in men, which is why they look for it in boys in particular and young boys. They don't give a shit about women. Like, it's a bit harder to see, and also they're women, so who really cares, right? They're just uppity and problematic, right? Yeah, Statler to me is like to the extent that I've learned some stuff about this, a classic case of everything that I know. What I will say, and again, not to take that Rain Man analogy too far because it's really reductive, she is glorious. She is wonderful. Like, the things that maybe, are wanting in her are more than compensated for, I would suggest, by her humor, her warmth, her unrelenting givingness, which I just think is so beautiful and wonderful. Here's the thing. Is she really in love? She feels she is. She feels she is. Now, we might think differently about it, but again, I'm not going to question someone's feelings. And I think, like, the little scavenger hunt thing with the roses, I thought that was unbelievably romantic, like, and creative, right? Because how many times have we seen people put fucking rose petals on a bed, right? She goes and plants the individual stems through a field. It's magical.
Sure.
I'm not going to question her doing that. Like, is she really in love? Well, she thinks she is, and that's up to her.
I personally wouldn't take it that far. I think love bombing creates problems.
I know.
I think the lack of... All right,
it's not going to work. It's not going to... Here's the point. It won't get her what she wants. But is she expressing her feelings? Like, showing exactly how she feels? Yeah. Don't question that, is all I'm saying.
I think that's a fair point. And I think that we should move on.
I just want to say she is the most delightful person who has ever been on any of these shows. And I thrill to see her. She makes me very, very happy. I'm sad that she probably isn't going to get the happiness that I think she deserves. But she is only good. I've never seen the slightest bit of negativity or malice from her in any way. And for me, that makes her A-okay.
Yeah, and get out of here with that sex tourist bullshit.
She's been interested in 2 women from the UK. We that's...
You know what? I don't... let's not even...
I've had 2 American wives. You've had 2 British husbands.
Yeah.
This is not
I
particularly...
guess that makes me a sex
We have
tourist.
a common language, for God's sake. That is so normal. And also, I'm pretty sure that those aren't the only 2 relationships Statler's ever been in. But let's slut shame her, shall we, for having slept with more than 2 people.
Well, that's the other thing, right? There's, again, it's projection. You might want to process that. If she annoys you that much, if you're upset that, and you think that she's given some kind of pass or privilege that you don't have, I'm not talking to you. I mean, you know, the Karens and Beckys and all them. And if it makes you feel better to say those things, just don't say them to me.
So these shows have given us a glimpse of what happens when neurodiverse people are taken advantage of. Mm-hmm. Shall we move on?
Yeah, you want to talk about Cleo and Christian?
Yeah, because look, I don't particularly think that Dempsey has taken advantage of Statler. I think she's led her on. Because I think it's been pretty clear that there's been an imbalance and she hasn't had that courage to say so. So she's waiting for Statler to shoot herself in the foot, which is really sad. It's different with Cleo. She has absolutely been taken advantage of. And this is a life lesson. When you come at Statler, what you're saying is, why can't you be more like Cleo?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Mm-hmm. So that's what you want, is it? For people with disabilities, you want them to suffer like Cleo. Have a think.
Yeah, you want them to be demure. You want them to be
apologetic and desperate.
Yeah, and that's the main thing. You know, you want them to hide. So good, so that you can feel better about yourself.
Yep, and that's the whole attitude with Cleo. Oh, why can't she be in a busy bar? She's such a killjoy, right?
Mm-hmm. Listen, I don't think that my opinions about Christian and Cleo are in any way controversial. I'm glad that she has people in her life who have a vested interest in her well-being. It makes me sad that she's at a stage where she feels that she has to apologize for who she is constantly.
Well, this is what we do to people that are different.
Yeah.
We make them feel that being different was their fault and they could have tried harder somehow.
Do you think...
He is worse than Caleb by quite some distance.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Does this mean we have to start being nice about Scottish people?
I don't know that being Scottish is a disability.
But it is a difference.
I know. Is it a choice?
Maybe it's just about, you know, I mean, what
about people that transition to being Scottish?
For me, it's that I'm of Scottish ancestry, right? Like, I mean, God. many generations back. Why are you doing that? Many generations back, I'm of Scottish descent on one side, right?
Some of my best friends are Scottish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't act like some Scottish people do.
Right.
So when they make a choice that I disagree with, it makes me feel like they should be Scottish in the way that I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
Which is to not say, not at
all. Oh, you know, we're just clowning on y'all. We're only doing this because, like, two people have got a Scottish bee in their Scotch bonnet.
In their Scotch bonnets.
Yeah. I love Scottish people and I love Scotland. I truly do. That's not even a lie. That's not even a lie.
That's the funniest part of all of this. Anyway, look, Christian, your hair's thinning. You dye it
beyond
dark.
Thinning.
Any reputable hairdresser would tell you that if you're a man and you're dyeing your hair to cover the gray, you need to go 2 shades lighter than your natural hair color. Otherwise, it looks like it does on Christian.
Yeah, I mean, it's horrific. And I thought it's quite weird. Like, men look more like that in the 70s, but this is the whole thing for him. Like, he wants to look like a man out of time, and his whole behavior, I would suggest, actually, is the behavior of a man from, like, 50 years ago. You know, he doesn't seem to have evolved in any way. What has clearly happened, look, I'll just call it. Wouldn't I look cool if I demonstrated to all of my friends that I'm so open-minded that I will have a relationship with a trans woman? Aren't I magnificent? Which is exactly what Caleb did with, you know, a smaller person. And, you know, that's, oh, isn't that amazing? But then it's like, but don't actually tell my friends. And I'm not like, she can't actually take her clothes off or anything. What I'm pretty sure has happened here, and forgive me if I'm overstepping, he let her blow him. And for that, he gets a prize for being so right on and liberal. Well done, well done. But like to that point and no further. And it is really, really alarming. It's a bit crying game, if I'm honest. It's not okay. It's just not, it's not okay. It's horrible.
Yeah.
Really horrible. Really, among the worst behavior we've ever seen on any of these shows.
By the way, if you've not seen The Crying Game, it's not like a life-affirming...
It's not for these times, I'll say that.
It's not for any times.
Yeah.
It's pretty demeaning and degrading, but
I would argue that's exactly the kind of behavior that he's been exhibiting, right?
No,
those
fair.
kind of attitudes is like, oh, you're attractive and everything, but oh, horror. Like it's a horror. And he seems horrified by her body, and my heart bleeds for her. It shouldn't happen. And he's lied to her that, you know, I do accept you, and not to, why should anyone even have to be accepted? Christ, most people don't go through their lives going, oh, will you accept me? We just get on with our lives, you know. But seeing as how she's been pushed into the position where someone giving her a moment of their time is like some kind of a fucking gift, to then withdraw that gift is so awful. So awful.
It's pretty foul. It's pretty foul. And also the idea that Christian is like, wow, I have so much to handle with her being autistic and transgender.
Yep.
That's such a heavy weight for me to carry.
Which of these things were kept from him? And I would argue, what has he done in any way to accommodate them? In any way?
Nothing that I've
Nothing
seen.
at all. Nothing at all. Awful.
He's so gross. It's almost like he's a character that somebody's written. You know, it's like someone went back to like whenever American Pie was made and was like, come on, give me your worst.
Yeah.
Let's
No.
let's make someone who is like worse than this.
Yeah.
And let's bring them. Actually, you might like that movie because it's a fish out of water thing. Let's bring a character from a 90s teen movie or a stereotype, I should say, or an archetype from a 90s teen movie
into the present day.
Into the present day, but they're not grown up at all.
Yeah, the problem with that is exactly the sort of film that, you know, MAGA hat wearing types would love to be made.
Well, maybe we
look how impossible it is to live in a snowflake culture. That's all that would be, and I'm not here for that.
No, but I think you can do some very subversive things with that. You can you can be provocative and cause someone to question their biases. Now we haven't seen Barbie yet, and
I'm led to believe I was going to cite Barbie. I'm led to believe that's kind of what that is.
Well, we are going to see it. The only reason we haven't seen it yet is because I want to do a service to the world and stop one more white heterosexual man from commenting on the film. With all due, I love you, but whatever your opinion is of it, you can keep to yourself.
Wow,
it's okay to have thoughts.
That's all right. You know what, ladies, you can have this one. As a man, that's my gift to you.
Totes hilaire.
Totes hilaire. We don't want to go into massive detail about everyone. A megacast will sink, frankly, under the weight of all that. Yeah, we sure have.
All right, here's people we don't need to talk about. David and Sheila, massive condolences. I don't have anything to add to that apart from that it's horrific. She has my deepest sympathies. She and her family and her whole community. David as well. I think giving her space was the right thing to do, and following her lead on that is the right thing to do. I wish production had handled it differently. I
have my own thoughts about what I wish production had done regarding the integrity of that building and whether or not it was suitable for large numbers of people carrying heavy equipment. But that's just my own questions that I will never ask. And I'm not asking here either.
Right. I respect that. We don't have to go inside baseball on that, but probably will on the Patreon at some later stage, because people might want to know about risk assessments and how those things are normally
Can't get my head around it, is all I'm
mitigated against.
saying. Can't get my head around how a production manager ever signed that risk assessment.
Misha.
Oh, you're too emotional, Misha. I will change.
You're sad, Misha?
Misha, I love the way you breathe in and out. That is the unique and remarkable thing about you, Misha. I haven't noticed anything about you in any. Oh, your laugh, Misha. You have a laugh, so I love you. Ha ha ha.
What do you think about these two? Do you think they can work it out?
I thought you were going to do. Yeah, I think she'll probably just take it. It's really sad. There is, underneath this being a comedic thing, there is some level of, I don't want to get serious with it because it is a comedic storyline, right? But there is some major trauma there that means that she would continue to subject herself to it and is willing to risk subjecting like her two daughters
Yeah,
to it as well. It's actually fucking terrifying and I don't understand it. I just don't see what she sees in him in any way. I don't see what she ever saw in him from his messages. I mean, unless they just talked about the Bible. I don't get it. I don't. But I'm not supposed to get it. It's a comedy storyline, right? Ha ha ha.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I'm so perplexed by it. I've never known a relationship in the history of this series that is so completely beyond explanation.
Yeah.
I sort of get...
It's not just that he is significantly less attractive than her. That I'm fine with. I could even handle him being like less charismatic or funny or charming or intelligent than her. But the gulf in those things is so outrageous. I don't get it. What does she get from this?
Well, maybe it's simply that. Maybe it is that by comparison, like if she was dating a Zied, for example, you know, like someone who didn't have the economic advantage, but was kind and loving and
confident,
eager to help, and
knew himself
and, you know, demonstrated his love in unique ways.
Is it just that by signing up for her disappointment, by being fully aware of the scope and scale of her disappointment, she cannot be disappointed? Like, if you choose to eat the shit burger, you don't get upset when your burger has shit in it.
Maybe, Robin, the definition of courage, to paraphrase Harper Lee, is knowing... Why'd you flinch?
Because it's got personal resonance, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the definition of courage is knowing that you're already beat and seeing it through to the end anyway. Maybe she's being brave.
Sure.
Gino and Jasmine.
Building memories. It's like the opening sequence to a 1980s sitcom. You can imagine it with like VHS kind of fuzzy effects. They're on their bike, going around. She's telling him that she fakes her orgasms. That kind of good times.
No, she was joking.
I know.
Ha 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 ha.
She's not joking.
No.
Where are we with them at the moment? What's going on there? I can't even remember. We go back and forwards.
She has peed on him.
She has peed on him.
In a jacuzzi.
What really blew me away with all this is like the degree to which Gino is now okay with this.
I think think he's always been okay with it.
He plays along with it now. And I don't really. I cannot. Can you imagine Gino from a couple of shots back being okay with it being known on TV that he'd been peed on?
Cousin Dan, help us out here. Cousin Dan has often explained various sexual kinks to me that I don't understand, not necessarily from their personal experience,
right.
and often against my will, what the sexual dynamics are between two people. So I'd be interested
Cousin
to know
Dan's
what
like
Cousin
a
Dan thinks.
walking, talking urban dictionary.
Yeah, but more than that, I think they are more perhaps aware of these things than I am. I'm quite vanilla, I think it's safe to say, in my preferences.
I am not going to come for anyone that wants to be peed on or wants to pee on. That is A-okay.
No, I've peed on someone.
Great. However,
not in a jacuzzi.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to call it. I do not think it's okay to pee on someone outside of your own home. That's a line for me. No maid should have to clean that up.
Yeah.
Right? So that's a line.
Also, did the jacuzzi have water in it at the time? Were there other people in the jacuzzi?
I think it must be like the kind of spa bath in their own room.
Were they alone?
Did it bubble back? Was it in full bubble? Was the pee splashing up and going everywhere?
That's what I want to know.
Did he revel in it? How much of the bath was full of the pee by the end of it?
Yeah, that's what I look, I don't want to know. I just have questions.
Yeah.
I have questions that I don't want to know the answers to. And I'm not sex shaming, kink shaming. We're very sex positive here.
The only reason it's of interest is because I
speak on something that I don't understand.
I just can't see that Gino is into this. Having said all of that, he does seem to have taken to all of the kink stuff like a duck to pea water. Do you not think?
Yeah.
He seemed to like the whips. He seemed to like the ball gag. It seemed to do it for him. So maybe that's all it took. Maybe Jasmine called it, right? When she was there with her girlfriends and they were kind of, trading butt plugs with each other and going this. And we watched that and we went, oh God, this is going to go so badly. But maybe this is exactly what was required to activate Gino.
It's just like a fairy tale.
It's really beautiful. In a way, it's like Beauty and the Beast.
I was thinking it's more like Cinderella. I think it's like, who is this butt plug gonna fit? Whose butthole does this plug belong to?
It's like a glass butt plug.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
she found the right size.
Gino has turned from a pumpkin into a carriage horse, I guess. It's lovely. It's lovely. I'm so pleased for them.
It's nice that they're getting along. Let's talk about Amanda and Razvan.
Okay. I have nothing to say beyond what everyone screamed at their TVs every time she's on. I didn't think I'd feel bad for Razvan, and I do now. His friend is a queen. That bikini was a lot. The only reason I say that is I think for meeting someone the first time, it's punchy. I felt that was a punchy attack. I feel that she wanted to provoke Amanda.
You know what, though? We forget.
Yeah.
Because 'twas not so long ago that I was on a beach in Europe, and you forget that people, not Eastern Europe, grant you, but
sure,
people in
Riviera's the Riviera,
right? People in general are pretty free with letting things all hang out. We're the ones that are covered up all the time.
Oh, no, but this is what I'm saying. Like, there is a certain kind, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble for this. Oh, boy. Can I do it?
I think if you have to ask the question, then you've already answered it. Yeah, look.
Look.
This sucks. Razvan seems like a really nice guy.
Really nice guy, wants to be there for her, wants to be there for her kids.
Yeah.
He's done absolutely nothing wrong at any point whatsoever.
I totally misjudged him. Yep. I completely misjudged him.
I do think that he's a trust fund kid, though. I do think that, I mean, clearly his friends seem I don't think he's ever been in a position in his life where he wasn't the one above. Does that make sense? I think there's money there. And this has come as a massive surprise to him. Essentially being, and this is American exceptionalism, like I've never seen it on this scale before. But like this is a guy who is clearly spent his life feeling a little bit like one of the elite, right? But he's just been reduced to Borat by an entitled American. That's how it looks.
That is a strong take.
That's how it looks.
Tyray?
Nothing to say. Beyond, if you wanted to meet this woman, I'm pretty sure that $150 will get you there.
I wouldn't want to put a price on it. But if she is indeed a sex worker, I imagine that she would be up for
a meet.
Up for a meet.
I think you probably would need to pay her in cash, though. I'm not sure the kind of candle that you give your godmother will substitute.
No, probably not.
Presumably, someone in production found the currency which will facilitate that kind of meeting.
I don't know what this is. It feels, the Tyray thing feels distinctly Todd Solondz to me, like making you look at the saddest iteration of human loneliness that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, it's gone beyond that, though, to the point where it's almost Ari Aster. It's the point at which a person's complete tragedy becomes the only thing they have left, and they actually start to wield it as a weapon. And I no longer look at him as the sad ukulele man. And now I'm looking at him as the creepy monster made of tragedy who crawls up from the gutter. It's odd. It's really odd. He is no longer sympathetic to me.
It's become quite confusing.
Quite confronting.
It's become very confronting.
Very confronting.
And finally, to round out...
His sisters are loving it, though.
To round out B90. Well, it's probably the most quality time that they've gotten with the brother. Each other.
Fucking hell, this is like the levels of tragedy just get worse.
No, but that's what I'm saying, he's been, to me, the saddest thing is that he's been a caretaker to his mother, and presumably they, were not able to do that for any significant length of time. So.
What I will say, though, is, and I'm sort of repeating myself, but before I looked at him as, you're a good-looking, quite funny, kind, quite charming young man. Mm-hmm. Being on TV will be good for you. If nothing else, I was like, okay, you're humiliating yourself by agreeing to do this, and that's fine. But, this will be the making of you, and a lot of people are going to want to date you after this. And now I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure now. I don't think there's anything but the tragedy.
You know what? I thought that about Deontay, and he and Nicole are back together.
Nicole Sr. Can we, let's clarify that Nicole Jr. is, I don't think you can put her back together. You can't save her from that Viking burial.
No.
I can't wait to see that.
Let's round this out with your favorite couple and mine. Riley and Violet.
Again, nothing to say beyond what everyone can say. I quite like the way the show has started to punish him. I like the way that tour guide read him for absolute filth. He's sitting there going, "Hey, Vietnamese poor person, let me give you a fancy whiskey and a cigar so I can show you how wonderful I am." And this guy's just like, "Yeah, you're a bit of a dick, aren't you?" I love that. That was great. I enjoyed that scene. Yeah, he's awful. He's awful. But again, like, this is all sort of a vice of how they can make this relationship work in some way. And I categorically don't want it to work in any way. You know, I want him to continue. This happens on these shows sometimes. It's like you watch these people behaving so badly, you want them to behave even worse so that eventually you hit a tipping point. Because sometimes people just take and take and take, right?
This isn't
this tipping point needs to tip.
It's not the now. As you are aware, one of my closest friends is Vietnamese and recently traveled to Vietnam, and she's volunteered to come on the show to speak to shed some light on Vietnamese culture and whether it's been represented properly on the show. So hopefully we can find out more about that at some point.
What I don't understand is the way that this has been kind of litigated in Vietnam. It's okay for a family to ask direct questions, but it's not okay for, like, it's kind of been framed in that way. I would argue that anywhere in the world that is the case, that someone who is a complete fucking stranger doesn't get to cross-examine your partner before they've even met them.
Yeah.
Like, anyway, this isn't Vietnamese culture. This is just decent human behavior. Soz. Ugh, garbage.
I think the only time that's acceptable, and I'm sure there are other ones that I'm not thinking of. Speaking from my own experience, when I thought this was quite intense, when I met the mother of someone of a different faith to mine at that time, the first meeting with her, she asked me whether I wanted children. She asked me whether I would be willing to convert to their religion, and she explained to me why it would be important that I do.
Yeah, but that's a family member again.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a family member.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And similarly, I would imagine.
So I'm saying these things are global and universal. This isn't some, Vietnamese people are weird. That's
right,
normal.
But it's also, it's not like Riley here's another circumstance where I would understand maybe if there were questions. If Riley were disabled, if he was terminally ill or chronically ill in a way that would require Violet to care for him, I think that's a fair question for a friend to ask. Are you prepared to undertake this because this is what it's like?
Yeah.
In a polite way, just to speak out of concern, but not, why didn't you delete the dating app? Well, who gives a fuck? First of all, you don't know that she didn't. You're just going
on his say-so.
On his say-so.
And again, we're relitigating the conversation everyone's had, I'm sure. Neither did he.
What a dummy.
And also because you weren't together or married like this. And also because relationships are transactional to a degree, and maybe you need a backup. Because certainly this guy didn't work out.
No.
Right. Next.
Right. And also he absolutely has a backup, if not more than one. We're going over to the other way now.
We did the before.
Kirsten and Julio, or as she calls him, Julio.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Go on, tell me what you think.
I
I mean, for me, it's Jabri. It's my level of not giving a fuckness is on a Jabri level.
I think he is dishonest. I think there's not much behind the eyes. I don't think that he has any charm or charisma.
Nope.
I also think that the reason why everyone was so surprised to meet Kirsten is because he has at least one other girlfriend, if not more.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's sort of, I think those reactions are genuine of like, what? You're what? I think those are...
it's being framed as, why didn't he tell... It's because he's told you about loads of other women. And
Well,
it's
it's because
been seen
last
around
week
town.
he brought someone else to the family barbecue. That's why.
Yeah. Now, all of that would be fine were it not, and I would know how to feel about this storyline and would possibly even be engaged in it, were it not for the fact that I don't feel that she gives a fuck either.
I don't know about that.
I don't see it. I really don't. I think she looks like she might be a bit butthurt that the way this is going to air is going to cast her as a victim, and that isn't what she signed up for. That, to me, is the disappointment that I see in her face. At no point have I heard what she finds attractive about him. At no point have I heard what he particularly finds attractive about her. Beyond, she's blonde, I guess. I don't know. There's nothing there between them. So I don't feel that she cares because there's nothing there. There's absolutely no love. But what I will say is, God, you come at Statler for falling too hard too quick. Why she wants to live with this guy in the first place is completely beyond me.
Well, because they already were living together. I think that's the issue, that they have a past, allegedly.
Yeah, sure. But they don't seem like this close couple who love each other. So...
No, I get it. And I'm getting tired just talking about them. So we'll go to the next. Let's talk about Wayne.
Well, let me just reveal. And we do try not to do this. If one of us starts reading, scrolling.
I'm not reading deeding. I'm looking at the episode description so I can make sure we're talking about the right people.
I wasn't talking about what you're doing right now at all. I was saying while we're watching the show, if one of us starts scrolling, right, the other one will go, come on, let's watch this, right?
Yeah,
we
that
have
doesn't happen.
We have an exception in their case. The moment they come on, the phones come out because neither one of us gives a fuck about them. They're unwatchable.
Wayne and Holly. Wine?
Go on.
And Holly.
Ooh, excuse me, I just hit my mic.
So
not that I would ever act violently towards an innocent object. He scares the shit out of me. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
He scares the shit out of me.
This is another one I can't get my head around at all.
Yeah.
And I don't know whose fault that is. I don't know if it's the line producer, the people who put the story editor. I don't understand it. I don't want to be unkind.
No, but she's a mess.
She is a mess. I'm concerned.
I don't know what her story is, particularly that took her to that place, but she is dangling by threads, right? There is so much damage. There's barely anything left there. I mean, literally, the ratty hair is the threads holding her from the abyss, right?
Yeah, that's trauma hair.
I don't know, but there is a pathetic fallacy thing going on there. We've referred to that before, where the environment matches the internal. There is this. It's right there for you. It's right there on the screen. She and he's taking full advantage. What I will wonder is, and look, please, if anyone's in South Africa.
I imagine there's quite a few people in South Africa
listening right now. I will just. Why is it that white South African men always come across a certain way in the media I have been exposed to? Let me put it that way, right? And I've not known men. I've known more white South African women than white South African men, but white South African. So I don't have personal experience. This is all I'm asking. I can't believe, like, everything in me tells me there is no such thing as people from this place are this, people from that place are that, because that's racist and it's not right. But I don't see anything else. And particularly on this show, they only ever have these kinds of white South African men. I would love to know if you are a white South African man and you watch this, whether you go, oh God, they're doing it again. Because fuck me.
Maybe there's only one type of white South African man that wants to be on television.
It's just weird, though.
No, I hear what you're saying, and I think, and forgive me if I've said this before, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say, fuck him for calling Black South Africans squatters.
Well, yeah, we didn't cover that episode, did we? But
no,
like,
we
that
didn't,
told me everything I need to know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
In terms of, look, I don't care what she wears or doesn't wear, whether he approves of it or not, whether he is legitimately concerned about her or whether he thinks that other people will think that means she's fast or what. I don't give a shit about any of that. I'm worried that she has bruises all over her arms.
Yeah, I know.
That's of some concern to me.
But this is what I'm saying. He actually scares me. Whereas, I'm so bad with names. Egypt.
Mahmoud.
And Nicole. Yeah. It's the same. We've just had this storyline, right? You can't wear this storyline. And that was framed as it's an Islamic thing. We kind of later discovered, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, maybe it's just a part of Egypt and there's certain, whatever. But I guess, like, we didn't I didn't question that as I have my own thoughts and my own perspectives on things, but then I'm like, okay, he's a Muslim man. This is kind of how it is. And like, she perhaps needs to flex a little bit given that she's living in his culture. Why can't I feel the same way about South Africa? Is it because it's not a religion? But then he is of quite a strong and orthodox religion, isn't he, as well?
Very.
Right?
Yeah.
So, because he's JW, right?
Mm-hmm.
So why was I wasn't okay with Mahmoud particularly, but I understood it, maybe.
Okay.
Why do I not understand it here? And it is interesting. Is it because he's white? I just don't know. And that might make me question certain kind of belief constructs that I have. And maybe I'm not okay with that hypocrisy that goes on in my own head, actually.
Well, I'm more concerned with the fact that the place that they're shopping in, and granted, I don't know what's around there. I don't know what's available. But if I had to describe the look that they're going for and presenting, it's like...
It's my South African aunt, Gail, who wears exactly those clothes.
Yeah.
Those are not the clothes for a woman of her age. It's like, this is what my mother wears, right? It's weird.
I was going to go further than that and say, if you happened to be a woman, let's say 55 or older, depending on your dress sense, and you had been to a hen party the night before, you've got to go to a wedding on the day, but you already wore your dress last night because your luggage got stolen or whatever. Boy, have we got news for you. Not only can you get your fascinator here.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You're not allowed to wear your fascinator.
You're not allowed to wear it, but you can get your bolero jacket.
Mm-hmm. You can get your overly pleated polyester dress.
You can get your pashmina for when it gets a little chilly.
Can get a little chilly at night.
You can get your sassy clacky mules.
Yeah.
For you to kick off on the dance floor.
Yep.
That aren't going to rip your tights.
You can get your costume jewelry, which is sold by weight. Yeah. I'll have 3 pounds of bangles. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That's them two. Kenny and Armando, Mexico City.
I didn't think that Kenny and Armando had anything left to give me. I was wrong. And look, don't get me wrong. I adore Kenny and Armando. I was just like,
me too.
That storyline has reached its natural conclusion. Of course, no storyline reached its natural conclusion. What I failed to realize is like, there are layers of trauma that are yet to be developed there. And what presented itself initially as, Armando's just being a little bit difficult and not particularly understanding of this, like all of a sudden it's like, wow. That all makes total sense.
Yeah.
This whole, shall we move to this city? I was like, like, I'm not buying this as a storyline. They've already decided. They just needed some reason to be on the screen. Now I'm like, oh shit, they didn't just need a read. This is proper stuff. This is all proper stuff.
Yeah.
This is like the next chapter of what we thought was quite a simple story of a guy coming out. This is what happens after you come out. And like, the truth and reconciliation phase of that.
It was hard to watch.
But we all felt at the time when they got married, like, is this really enough just that he was grateful for his dad showing up at that wedding? And I remember thinking at the time, this is the happy ending? And it's like, nah, because it ain't done.
No. And again, I don't want to speak about something that I have no real understanding of, or I understand it, of course, as an empathetic human. For his mother to center herself in this narrative, a lot of people have complained that, why did you have this conversation in front of Hannah? First of all, this was not a staged conversation.
Really didn't seem it.
Secondly, and I might be in the minority here and I don't care, for her to watch her father stand up for himself like that, I think is going to resonate with her. I don't think she will ever forget that. And I think it will hold her in good stead in the future. And I think
because I think if he or Kenny ever behaves in that kind of way towards her, like now they would want her in the future to do what Armando is doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They've taught her an almost priceless life lesson there.
Right.
Like, just because someone is your parent doesn't mean they own you.
Or that you owe them anything.
Right. It's their choice to have you or not to have you, right? You had no... I don't mean this in a teenage... I didn't ask to be born. But, like, there isn't a price that you pay back for someone raising you. That is not the deal.
Correct. Yeah. You don't owe your parents anything. With your spouse, it's a little bit different because it's a partnership that you enter voluntarily.
And you agree the terms of it.
And you agree the terms.
But if it's the case that a child and a parent agree the terms, well, that would never hold in a court of law because you're agreeing those terms when you're like 3 years old. You're in no fucking position to negotiate, right?
Oh, would that we could...
Anyway, gave me major season 2, episode 6 of The Bear vibes.
Ooh. Yeah, we'll address that.
Quite
at
an
a
incredible
later date.
scene. Quite an incredible scene. I didn't think there was more to be seen from Armando, but he's a bit of a hero to me. And the composure.
Absolutely.
The composure that guy can exhibit is just... If I were Kenny, I'd fall in love with him too. That is a guy you want in your life.
Yep. Brandan and Mary.
I haven't had a chance. We have never discussed them. Do you know that? I don't think we might have done the first episode, but that was before we learned about his abandonment issues.
Right.
So I've never had the chance to use the line abandonment issues. And now it doesn't seem so relevant.
I don't have anything novel to say apart from the fact that I think that Brandan is getting an unfairly kind edit here because it takes two people to create a relationship like this. I'm not saying that there's no such thing as coercive control or anything like that. I'm not victim blaming at all. What I mean is a relationship like this cannot exist between two people like these two without him instigating some of it. I don't believe that.
Oh God, it's not one-sided. Having said that, we're both pretty sure there's trauma. I mean, there's definitely trauma on both sides. Like, so he has.
Yeah, we know about his.
He has his abandonment issues, right? But so does she. And this isn't reference. She lives with her grandparents, right? I don't know. We don't know why that is. It has not been explained. Is it that the parents have to work elsewhere, in which case still abandoned? It's still going to affect a child. Is it something significantly more sinister? And I gotta say, as this storyline goes on, I feel like it may well be something more sinister.
I am concerned, and I'm not making any generalizations here. This is my theory, okay? So if you don't agree with this theory, that is fine. And if you think I'm overstepping, that's also fine. Trigger warning applies here. Sexual abuse. So skip forward about 30 seconds if you'd rather not hear about this. I think that Mary was relocated away from a male relative who was abusing her. I don't know who that male relative was, but I think that's why she is where she is and not living with her parents.
It is my hunch.
And she's exhibiting many behaviors that are endemic in survivors of child abuse.
Right.
And as much as certain traits of hers annoy me, I understand that while they're not an excuse necessarily, there's an explanation for it.
There you go.
Right?
But that works on both sides. That's the thing. So I think you have two people that have actually had, I suspect, very harrowing upbringings. Together, they could heal and get past those. What worries me is that the whole relationship is manifestation of trauma on both sides.
Yeah, that's right.
And if they heal that trauma in some way, there is nothing left of the relationship.
Well,
without the coercive control, what is that?
Well, what they thrive on is control. And
if they reconcile that and sort that out, what is that?
Well, they're not going to reconcile it and sort it out, at least not for another 10 years, maybe. Yeah. And realistically speaking, they're probably going to have lots of children too. But guess what you cannot do is control children. I think that's when a lot of controlling people really start to spin out, is when they recognize that they don't have ownership or control of their own children.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because you want to say, well, you both need like 10 years of very, very deep work before you can ever hope to be in a sustainable relationship. But that's saying to people who have trauma that you have to be alone. And I don't really want to say that. I'm just saying, okay, look at this relationship. This is the kind of thing you're going to have until you work that out. But, give it a crack.
I think.
But it ain't working.
Ann Patchett, who is one of my favorite authors, said it best. She got divorced, as I did, at a very young age from her first husband. I'm paraphrasing here, but she said that she realized that he was not someone who made her want to be a better person. And that's a really good reason not to want to continue to be with someone.
Yeah.
Because that says a lot. You need to be with somebody, you as much as, and I know I haven't said this on the podcast, but I don't think I mention enough how much of my recovery or healing or desire to keep going is inspired and enabled and driven by your refusal to give up on me.
Well, you know, there's people listening, Kai.
This is so this is the most un-British thing we've ever done.
Yeah, they like it when you
say nice things.
No, when you snap at me, they're not. They are not here for you. But look, hey, it works both ways. That's the thing. Like, you make me want to be better, and even more than that, I am better. I am proud of the change that I have gone through over the last 5 years, which would not have happened without you. I can put my hand on my heart and say I am a better person, husband, father, and friend with you than I would have ever had hope of being without you. I like myself now, and I don't think I could have really said that much before. You know, there wasn't any me to like before you, particularly. So, hey, what's two ways?
Let's thank you for that. That has been noted and taken on board. Let's talk about Danielle and Yohan. Love Danielle's friends. They are the new Debbie and Raina.
Yeah.
In my estimation.
They really are. I just want them to drink more. That's all, right? One of them needs to choose which one is always going to have the glass wobbling in their hand.
That's true.
Like, choose that, and then absolutely you can be part of my life forever. I almost, if they're in it that consistently, I'm almost okay for them to stay on this show, and I really didn't want them to stay on this show.
Same.
But these friends are gold.
They're great. I mean...
And he's kind of gold too. And I've always been vaguely on his side. It's hard. He's got such a lovely smile.
He really does.
He really does though, right? He really does.
It's also hard not to be on his side when the alternative is so very hard to take.
Yeah.
And if she had... Now, we've talked about... I don't want to be a hypocrite here and say that a woman should be less confident or a woman should show more humility. I don't think that applies in this case.
Well,
partly because she says things like, I wouldn't be able to get my kids involved in sports or art classes or...
Because they don't have sport in the Dominican Republic.
No, last time I checked, it's called Major League Baseball.
Wow.
And there are more than a handful of Dominican players who come from DR.
All kids do. Look, again, I'll be careful with, those parts of the world and stuff, but it's normal for kids to spend all day outside playing sport with their mates, right? They go out, they might come in for dinner, they go out again, you hardly see them, right? And it's that way, to be honest, in this country, outside of certain major metropolitan areas, that is just fucking normal. So, trust me, your kids... They might not go to, the soccer clubs that you're used to, but they'll fucking play soccer, It was such a weird thing for her to say. It was so weird.
I wouldn't say weird. I would say tone deaf.
Yeah.
And elitist.
They do have things in other countries,
Yeah, I don't accept that.
Gizmo.
Gizmo, I accept. And
I just resent the fact that she has what, to my eyes, may be the perfect dog. Sorry, Tick. Sorry, Inky. That dog is so
that
damn
dog
cute.
is so cute.
So
All right.
cute.
So, last but certainly not least, let's talk about Kimberly and TJ and TJ's brother. Wow.
Well,
The sharp objectsness, the Southern Gothicness of this story never fails to ricochet throughout the streets of Jaipur for me. Kimberly is, I'm starting to think that her spirit guides are not guides. I think they're sort of lying.
do you think they're evil demons?
I would not go that far, okay? Because I'm pretty sure demons you have to conjure. If anyone...
Hey!
What?
Hasn't she? She seems the conjuring type.
I don't know.
Could she have read could she have done a Candyman is all I'm saying. Did she just say something, not realizing what she said? You know, she's read from the Necronomicon. Is that what it's called in The Evil Dead?
Yeah.
You know, she's thoughtlessly incanted something she shouldn't have incanted.
Well, the thing about demons is they can be very persuasive even.
Persuasive, yeah.
Incidentally, if you haven't watched a web series called Yacht Rock that was made in like the early 2000s, please go to YouTube. It was I'm not going to go into where it came from, but it's just
so good.
Anyway, that's where persuasive comes from, or persuade if you're curious.
I thought it was Jane Austen.
No, that's persuasion.
We don't know that she didn't say it that way.
We don't.
Because
no one was alive back then. That's right. I'm sorry, people were alive back then.
Wow.
They just haven't...
That has changed my perspective on all of Austen's oeuvre.
Made it
now it's all ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, somebody did... anyway, we digress. I'm saying that maybe there are... Now, I'm a huge fan of Matt Maher's Southern Stories.
Right.
And I'm always champing at the bit with excitement to get to the part where the story takes a hard left turn and either ends tragically or bizarrely.
I like the coders to his stories. That there'll be a story, it will take the hard turn, it ends sad, but then he'll sprinkle these extra little tragedy gummy bears on top. So it'll be like, and she died and she was in a fire and that person self-combusted. And there'll just be this extra little, but passed over very quickly. It's good.
Yeah, or like her stepbrother still mows my cousin's lawn.
Yeah, but then it'll be like mowed over the cat. And then just moves on. Delicious.
Yeah, so I think Kimberly got her wires crossed mediumship wise. And I'm not mocking it. This is something that, as some of you know, I read the tarot. I don't identify as a psychic unless I'm doing it commercially, and then you kind of have to, but I try to explain it in a different way.
But she's more sclerovoyant than clairvoyant.
She is more sclerovoyant than clairvoyant. I guess my biggest question is, like, does she have one? Are the spirit guides like a staff? Like, does she have one who advises her on travel? Is there another one who specializes in relationships, or does everybody do everything? Because
I think they're short-staffed.
You could argue that, I think you could do the, the whole camel is a horse designed by committee argument, where maybe she's just getting too many opinions.
I think it's the other way around. I think they're short-staffed. I think, you can't get the staff in the spirit realm. I think it's all been delegated to an intern that's completely out of their depth.
So you think...
We never question that, right? Whether our spirit guides are actually qualified for the job.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's how they get there. But we've already established that she maybe had some wrong-uns slip in there, giving her bad advice.
Well, just an incompetent. I mean, it's why is it not possible to have a completely incompetent spirit guide?
Do you think she has do you think she's got a Janet sort of saying, no, these building regulations are completely wrong. No.
I do think there's a health and safety officer who has become her spirit guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
really hung up on the completely the wrong things. Yeah.
So she's pointing out all these faults. She's getting really mad. So maybe it isn't. I, for one, I think I can say I'm a Londoner now because I've lived here for more than a decade. But
maybe it's because you're a Londoner that you love London town and not Scotland. Barking in the wilds.
It's all right. I was going to contribute something, but you've skewered me yet again.
God damn it!
That's fine.
Oh no, I ballsed up. Can we go back to where you were saying lovely things about me? Probably not.
They're so easily forgotten.
I know. Garlic.
Cousin Dan did a deep dive. Now, I don't know what specific religion TJ and his family follow.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, garlic is a no-no, generally speaking, but particularly during festivals and holiday periods.
Okay, so a comparison that I will bring to the table.
Mm-hmm.
You see, where it's not been particularly explained, I just need someone to say on camera, he's built the apartment above the house for them, but it doesn't have a kitchen.
I don't see that it has its own kitchen.
No, but I just need, if that was said, I didn't hear it said. I just want it very, very clear.
Hang on. Let me ask one of her spirit guides, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, they don't have their own kitchen.
Okay, fine.
But it's compounded by the fact that she's expected to do all the cooking for the family once she marries into the family. So that's, again, could be getting my wires crossed.
Yeah, again, who were you speaking to? Did they show their credentials?
Because
if you got the info, if I were to live in the house of an Orthodox Jewish family and I wanted bacon, I would go for takeout and get my bacon out of the house. I wouldn't bring my bacon into their kitchen and cook my bacon. That would be unbelievably disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's their kitchen. Now, the point is whether she ever agreed to share a kitchen under those circumstances and whether he said to her, we'll have our own apartment, it's going to have its own kitchen. And now she's discovered, oh shit, I've got to follow cash route, the Indian equivalent. Do you know what I mean? Because I can see that's a bit of a fucker, right? But even though it's a bit of a fucker, you give things up due to other people's religious sensibilities, don't you? Don't you?
Well, I expect people not to bring pork into our house out of respect, but
it's just weird.
Yeah.
That you couldn't go, oh yeah, they don't. Okay, so that's fine. It's not the end of the world. And I'll eat it out of the house. Even what's his name on Mate to Roommate. Do you remember?
Oh God.
He hid his meat.
No, that's bad. That's
But that's
really
what she
bad.
wants. She is basically the same. She's going to have her garlic hidden behind the air conditioner vents.
Why do you need garlic that bad? No, look, fine. Okay.
David, was that his name? Meet David.
I think so.
Yeah. What a show that was. More of that, please.
Yeah. I think that when you understand, when you're moving to India, unless there's an explicit agreement otherwise, and unless you've spoken to your intended and said, hey, I'm happy to move to where you are, I'm not going to follow any of your customs or traditions, nor will I be adhering to the social hierarchies in your society.
The only wrinkle, and you absolutely right, the only wrinkle on that is that may well have happened because he has exhibited what this show is now teaching me. I'm sure it's bullshit. It's teaching me as a male Indian trait, which is appeasement. Seems to be the way that so far we've had 3 Indian men have all behaved in a kind of, oh yeah, it's fine, don't worry, yeah, it's fine, it's absolutely taken care of, it's completely fine. And then when it comes to it, it's like, that is not fine, right? Because we've seen that now from 3 Indian men, that's all.
Yeah,
and
again, like huge country, many different regions.
No, that's why I'm saying, absolutely ridiculous. Like, a sample size of that is not, like, in data terms, particularly secure. But it is possible in his case that he did say all of that and now he's completely reneging on it, which is one of the reasons that she's so cross. That's all. Because if that isn't the case, then she is crazed. And that's the way the show has chosen to present her. But maybe they left out all the stuff where he said, it's not a problem, we'll have her in the kitchen, it's absolutely fine. Because we have seen that with, like, Sumit before and what's his name in.
Sure. Yeah. And I could support that. Or defend it rather. What I find indefensible is the way that she speaks to other people as though her opinion is the only one that matters.
Yeah.
Her voice is the only one that needs to be heard. Now, should TJ's brother, I'm very sorry I don't remember his name, should TJ's brother have called her stupid? No, he shouldn't have. Should he have lost his temper with her? Not a great idea. But she actually doesn't, even in America, I wouldn't endorse her speaking to him that way.
No.
Or any member of TJ's family, or TJ.
It's hard, though, because we encourage people to speak up and express their needs and their thoughts and everything, right? And be upfront with it. So it's kind of challenging, isn't it, when you actually see what that can sometimes look like and go, oh, it's a bit much.
But why does she go from... Yes, I agree. But
she's just setting boundaries.
Is she setting boundaries or is she like taking a sledgehammer to every wall rather than checking to see whether there's a door there first?
Once again, if this relationship isn't what you want, don't be in it. Which is kind of like the whole fucking motto for the franchise. So what am I even saying?
All right. Well, it is getting very hot in here.
Certainly is.
I have trouble regulating my temperature, so I'm going to make a positive choice for my health that may not affect you personally, listener, in any way, shape, or form.
Wow.
Anyway, see you soon, and Robin's going to close out the show because I am too warm to
I'm not.
That.
They don't need me closing it out. I'll go see you soon as well. See you soon.